Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to ditch the outdated beliefs, release the blocks, and fully embrace your sovereignty so you can confidently expand to allow more love, joy, and aligned success in your life. I am Niajae, your conscious accountability partner, reminding you that abundance is your birthright. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I am super excited because we're actually going to talk about manifesting. So M&Ms actually stands for Magical Manifestors if you're new to this podcast. And today we have Caitlyn Dorsey, and we're going to talk about why vision boards and affirmations may not be working for you. So before we dive into her story, I want to ask you, Caitlyn, what does abundance mean to you?
Ooh, abundance to me means really being whole in yourself. And I look at it that way because I think sometimes we can look at it in the external of having all the money and all these different things, which yes, that comes, but it definitely starts within. So feeling and creating this idea of being full and abundant in your own self and loving yourself and really exuding that is what abundance means to me.
I love it. I love it. So tell us about you. Who is Caitlyn Dorsey?
What a loaded question. So I'm an intuitive healing coach and animal communicator. I really started this journey several years ago. I kind of had hit rock bottom in my life, and I wasn't into, all this kind of spiritual healing and everything I wasn't into that. I really had no idea. And I was going through kind of traditional counseling. I always felt like something was missing. And so, I started trying to figure stuff out, trying to figure out how to heal myself. And I knew I really liked to help other people. So I started volunteering and kind of immersing myself wherever I could. I volunteered since I was 13 with animal shelters, domestic violence shelters, mental health clinics, really whatever I could get into. And that led into more of a traditional background in mental health counseling and addiction. But I still felt like something was missing. And I was introduced to a spiritual coach. And it was just kind of that aha moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need to be doing. This is what people need to hear. Animals were a huge part of that journey for me of finding kind of this self-love and what, life is really about. So I kind of followed my guidance and opened my doors as an intuitive healing coach and animal communicator in the short version.
I love it. So when did you know that you can communicate with animals? I find this so fascinating. So was it I'll let you tell the story because I have like more detailed questions, but I'll listen to to your answer first.
Of course. So it actually started with my horse. His name was River. I was really, really in tune with him. Like anytime I was having a bad day, I'd go out and I would just sit in the barn and talk to him and cry, and never really felt like anything was happening, but I felt like there was this deeper understanding. Until one day it kind of shifted. I started kind of playing around with this and talking to him, and I started noticing his reactions back to me. And so I started kind of testing the waters and seeing if I could ask something, if I could hear or feel or do these different things. And I did. I mean, and I started kind of working with my other pets. I had cats and dogs, and working with them, and it kind of expanded to working on friends' animals, and moving forward with that. But animals are definitely underestimated. I know we love them so much, but gosh, they are such amazing teachers and have so much to share with us. So animal communication is just another powerful tool. I know we were chatting right before we got on about needing all these different tools to go through our lives. And that's one thing I love about animal communication is it is just another tool. I'm not big on you have one tool and that's how you get through life. And, that's how you do the spiritual journey. It's kind of taking this eclectic approach and using all these different tools. And animal communication is just one that fit me.
I love it. When you first realized that you had this ability, did you feel like you were crazy?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Oh, 100%. I was like,
Okay.
there's no way that my horse is talking to me. What am I hearing? Am I going crazy? My background, like I said, is in traditional mental health counseling. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing voices. Am I schizophrenic? Like, what is going on? I did. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love just hearing the realness with that, because I think that as we're on a journey and we're fine-tuning our clear abilities, there are moments where I'm like, okay, am I losing my mind? But it's
Absolutely.
good to hear that other people feel that same way, so you know that you're not alone. Because
100%.
I remember my first download, I was like, what is going on?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I do believe that our fur babies are sent to us specifically. Like I had two Yorkies. I just had to put one down. It was really,
Mhm.
really difficult. I had him for 18 years. And I know this is a little bit off topic, so we'll get on topic in a second, but I believe like his temperament, like everything about him, I feel like he specifically was, I actually received a download saying he was specifically sent to me,
Mhm.
but I believe that, you know, we choose, they choose us, we choose them, and I needed him during that time period in my life. And now I had him 18 years, and I about 16 years in, I knew he was getting older, so I got another Yorkie, and they are polar opposites. Polar opposites, but I feel like she's such a reflection of maybe me now. It's just so interesting just how it works. But I
Yes.
there's just so much to it. So I feel like there's so much power in animal communication and people really
Mhm.
understanding the power that they do hold and their understanding and their wisdom. And I also read a book, The Emotion Code, where they learn
Mhm.
to muscle test animals because animals store trauma as well. So yeah, there's so much to it. So much
There
to
is.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you touched on that piece of, they come directly for us and there is so much power. Because I think sometimes people hear animal communication and they're like, oh, great, I'll be able to have like a little conversation or hear, what kind of food they like. And although that's part of it, it goes so much deeper. I mean, you hit it on the nose with saying, that your Yorkie reflects you. Absolutely. They are such amazing teachers because they do reflect these behaviors. And sometimes they reflect those behaviors or those things that we're not willing to quite look at yet. And so we're
Mhm.
like, oh, why are they acting this way? Why are they doing this? And then we're like, oh, that's a reflection of what I'm not looking at, and kind of can put these pieces together. But it goes so deep in our own spiritual growth and journey by, having them come and be these teachers for us.
Yes, I 100% agree. Like my Yorkie is so stubborn. And it's so funny because I know like I just did a podcast episode about it was called Confessions of a Stubborn Vessel. So I know like when I was given like this is your purpose, I resisted. And so anytime I'm like, oh my goodness, why are you so stubborn? I'm like, okay.
You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Very
Okay.
nice.
So, all right, let's dive into manifestation and why vision boards and affirmations don't work for some people.
Sure. So, the biggest thing I see is, of course, we've all I think everybody kind of starts with that in the spiritual journey. If you kind of go to the law of attraction or kind of this idea of if I put all these things that I want, I will have them immediately. And then we start to see, oh, okay, it doesn't happen immediately. There's work involved. So, there's kind of this distorted pattern that we're taught when we first start this journey. And then the other piece of this is it keeps them in the lack mindset. When people are looking at this vision board with this beautiful car, this amazing house, and they don't have it, they're constantly looking at that and saying, I want that. And that and kind of reinforces that message of, I don't have that yet. I'm not where I want to be. And so it keeps you in this stuck pattern of lack, and that I'm not how much I should be, and I'm not full, and I won't be full and fulfilled until I get to that. Or those affirmations, same thing, the affirmation of looking at, I want to be, or I'm trying to think of a good one now. Just a good affirmation, that a lot of people say, like, I will be wealthy and be making, 100K in next year, something like that. And then it doesn't quite happen. And it's because you're already enforcing these blocks, these subconscious and energetic blocks inside you, because you're taking that approach of making this intention in a lack mindset. And if the intention does not come with surrender, then it's absolutely a path to delusion, because you're not going to make that intention and in that lack mindset and have it backed by the appropriate energy that's going to help move you forward. You're not surrendering to your higher power and really embracing that abundance and embracing this idea of, this love energy of you're exactly where you need to be at now.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There's so much to unpack there. And the key word that I love that you said is surrender. And I feel
Mhm.
like that is something like where I am on my journey is surrendering to the process. So the way that I see that, like, okay, I want this amount of income or I want this house. So the universe shifts pieces in your life to align that. But
Mhm.
sometimes we resist because sometimes, like, I'll give you an example. Say you're in a specific profession and you're
Mhm.
like, okay, I want to make 100K and I'm a coach, let's just say.
Yeah.
But like maybe you need to shift that profession in order to
Mhm.
get to that 100K or seven figures or whatever it is. And we hold on like, no, but I want this job, but I want this business. But the universe is like, but you said you want this. But if I'm trying to get you here, you have to give this up. And it reminds me of that there's a photo where there's a person that's supposed to be God,
Mhm.
and he's asking for a teddy bear from a little girl, and she's like, but God, I love it, but he has a bigger teddy bear behind him. So a lot of
Mhm.
times we're not willing to give up certain things about where we are, and it may be a job, it may be a person, it may be a belief in order to get to where we actually want to go. So I feel like stuff like The Secret and the affirmations and the vision boards leaves out that surrender process.
100% it does. Absolutely. And you touched on too that idea of that teddy bear. There's going with my background again of kind of being more in the mental health side of things and having that more traditional approach. There's this idea that's one of the basic human needs or basic psychology principles is that humans cannot give up anything, and it's this replacement. You have to replace it with something else. So when we get into this place, we need that replacement in that immediate gratification. We need it replaced right away. And so that's where the surrender piece really can kind of be difficult, because we have to let go and know that, hey, it may not come immediately because we have to let go to divine timing. However, we're kind of having this push and pull of this human existence of, I have to have this and I have to replace something and I need it. And then trying to balance it with this kind of spiritual existence as, this surrendering process that we really do deeply know and is, in alignment with our kind of higher truth and our um, most divine path.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Like, you don't even understand how much that speaks to me right now. It really blows my mind how the universe works, because I like this is kind of my story right now. I'm actually in a process of moving in with my partner, and I have a place that I love, like love, love, love. And so I've been working through the emotions of like giving up my place to move into his place, but he has a bigger place. My place is not, it's not fit for two people really.
Sure, yeah.
And so yeah, that, I mean, it just, honestly, I feel like these are the things that I feel like people don't speak about on the journey, because
Mhm.
they there was something I heard one time of like, you can't be happy and sad at the same time, or something to that effect. But I felt like it was very limiting to us because we are dynamic beings. And I'm ecstatic about taking this next step in my relationship. And I'm also sad that, I have a glitter wall. Like, I'm going to be
Mhm.
sad that, and I want to say giving up my place. Like, I feel like this has turned into like a therapy session.
No, it's totally fine.
but
Yeah.
but it's a process. The reason why I have this podcast and I talk about stuff that I feel like people typically don't talk about is because what happens is we suppress these feelings and these emotions, and then when we have them, we're like, okay, it's so easy for other people, but why is it hard for me? I can't be both things. I can't be happy and sad. So I'm feeling all of these emotions, but this must be wrong, or I must be crazy, because you're not supposed to be able to feel these two different emotions at both ends of the spectrum. And so it limits us. And then we wind up suppressing it. And then we wind up having trapped emotions. And then it turns into physical ailments. And so, really, just leaning into all of that.
Yeah, I always tell people I am not in the people pleasing business, because I you have to sit in that discomfort. You have to sit in those emotions, because the discomfort is where the growth happens. And we are dynamic beings. You don't feel one emotion only about different things that happen in your life. That's not how we're supposed to create. That's not how we experience different things. I mean, you hit it on the head, right? We've got so many different emotions, even stored in our bodies, if we're not, processing them out. And then we do have these physical problems that come up. And then, we start to shift things out, and that emotion starts to come out. So we do kind of express and have all these different emotions, and we should be. And I love that you talk about stuff that doesn't come up, because you're right. I'll have a lot of different clients come to me and they'll say, oh, well, I look at other spiritual coaches, or I look at gurus, and I look at these people and they've got it all figured out. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We don't have it figured out. We're moving through it, right? And we're learning as we go, and we're sharing that, because that's what we should be doing. We are imperfect beings. We are not supposed to be perfect. There's no such thing. And honestly, if there was, we'd be boring, right? We'd be so incredibly boring. So I really love that you hit on that. It's an amazing point and amazing platform.
Thank you. Okay, so what are some tips that can help people manifest once they realize, okay, it's going to take a little bit more than vision boards and affirmations? What are some tips that they can work towards really allowing the abundance in that they want?
Sure. So I'd say the very, very first step is looking at those affirmations and looking at those vision boards and realizing what the emotion that you're wanting is behind that. For that house, what emotion is that going to bring you, or what feeling is that going to bring you if you have that? So, looking at, I'll feel successful, I'll feel happy, I'll feel content. And then look at other times in your life that you've created that. Go, kind of scroll back through your memories. Scroll back to a time that you felt successful, you felt happy, and live in that feeling again. We can create these emotions inside of our body. We're amazing beings in that sense. So, when people are like, well, I want this house, I always say, why do you want that? Because what we're really craving is not that house. We're craving the emotion behind it. We're craving that feeling. So if we know what that feeling is, we can label that feeling to help our conscious mind really understand it. Then we can create that in our body and get into this place where we're actually living in abundance without having this idea of, I have to have this house to be happy. We're saying, I'm happy now because look at all these memories that I've had. I can feel that happiness in my body. And when we're in that place of gratitude and happiness and contentment and all these emotions that we want, that's when we're able to create. That gratitude space is really what helps us be in that surrender phase, and be able to kind of let go and let our higher power, however you address that, God, however you say that, really to take over and help us in those emotions of just saying, I don't know what this journey looks like. I don't have to get to this end destination, but I know that I want to feel this. And I can already feel that, and I can create that, and I can embody that. And when we do that, we also start to create different things in our life, right? We always talk about like attracts like. That if we go back to that principle of the law of attraction, if you are happy and engaging and you're showing that energy to other people, you attract people like that. You attract opportunities because you're surrendering and you're getting out of your own way. So I'd say the emotion, naming it, starting to embody it, and then going into that surrender and gratitude practice is going to be kind of those quick steps. I know I said step one and then I went through all of them, but that was kind of just really the process of how to manifest.
If you were looking for a sign, here it is. This is your reminder to not settle, to know your worth, and to follow your bliss. This is a reminder to maintain alignment and show up in your fullest expression. Abundant and Aligned Society is an accountability program to remind you that you are a powerful being and you deserve to live the life you truly desire. Go to niajae.com/society to join in on the magic, because life is meant to be abundant. Something that came to me when you were speaking is that sometimes people get addicted to the wanting. They get addicted to the chase. And it's like, okay, I want this and I want this, and then they get it and then they're bored. And then they want something else and they get it and they're bored. So I think that just to add to that, because I do believe, like I listen to Abraham Hicks and she says,
Absolutely.
yeah, the more excited you are about this segment, the better the next segment is going to be. So really embodying that feeling and being present with where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Being present with where you are, because sometimes when we're constantly wanting, we're addicted to that feeling of wanting something bigger, wanting something better. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the grass is greener syndrome,
Yeah.
like you want to be over there. So really just being present with where you are
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, we have a ton of messages in society that kind of reflect that, right? Kind of the beauty standards, the diets, the, sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? That's what kind of sells. So this idea of it's constantly better at the next thing. And what I kind of touched on with when we're looking at this emotion that we really crave, when you create that emotion inside yourself, you're able to let go of that chase. Because you're
Mm-hmm.
right, when we get into this place where we're just looking at the vision board and we're saying, I'll be happy when I get that house. Again, we're in that lack mindset. But the other piece is you're not focusing on the emotion. That house is an object that you are attaching an idea of happiness to, but you're not actually attaching the emotion to it. So looking at, we hear it all the time when people are like, I want that next job. Then they get that job and they're like, I'm not happy. I don't feel successful. I don't feel like I thought I was going to. And you're like, okay, I'll just chase the next thing. It must be because I'm not there yet. And right. So when you hit on that wanting principle, that's huge. And that's what really is able to be cut loose when we do look at these emotions and what I have now. And really, like you touched on again, being present. That's huge. Sitting in that discomfort when it's there and sitting in the beauty when it's there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sitting in the beauty and not feeling like you have to strive for more. I think that as entrepreneurs, we get caught in that I don't want to say rat race, but it's kind of like a hamster wheel of
Yeah.
we need more, we need more, we need more, and really just being, again, being present. I don't know, like that just keeps coming to me, and I know I've been there where you get one thing, you get one client, and then you're like, okay, but I want another client. But it's like, did you take a moment and honor and show gratitude for this phase? And so really just allowing yourself to be in a state of gratitude without the need for the next best thing or validation. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So really making sure it's coming from a place of alignment versus I need this thing to validate me. Because that's another vision
Yeah.
boards are, I need this house because it's going to make me feel some type of way. And so I think that's another portion of it, that need for validation.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely is. And it's just, we look at this idea of that chase constantly and this, like you touched on with the entrepreneurship of being in that rat race. But, you know, if we go a little bit deeper into this idea of the masculine and the feminine energy, and I don't know how much you've talked about that with kind of your community, but this idea that we're trying to live in the present in that balance of the masculine and the feminine energy. So first of all, if people haven't necessarily heard of that, the feminine energy and the masculine energy has nothing to do with gender, sex, anything like that. It has to do with this idea that the masculine energy is that action oriented. That is the actions that we take, doing the work to get to what you want. And then that feminine energy is that creativity, the intuition, the surrender, this beautiful kind of flow. And so when we are in the present and we're in that beauty and we're able to kind of surrender, but also take the guidance, because that's the other piece, right? We hear a lot of spiritual teachers talk about how, oh, you just have to sit back. You just have to surrender. But then the next piece is we have to surrender, but we also have to act on the guidance that we're given, right? If we're asking for something and we're surrendering and then we're given an opportunity to take that and move forward with it. And that's, again, that balance between that masculine and energy piece where we are sitting in the beauty, where we are really surrendering in a different way. Because, that balance is what we really strive for.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So this is a perfect segue into like inner power. So I know you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned inner power, and I think that people are more disconnected. Actually, I take that back. I was going to say people are more disconnected from themselves, but I think we're going through a collective healing where people are
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting to themselves. So I think that the disconnection is just more easily, like you could see it more because so many people are connecting back to themselves. So how do you feel inner power plays a part in all of this?
I think inner power is probably the most important part in manifesting it all, because like we're talking about, you have to be present, you have to be in this space where you're really feeling abundance. But how you do that is by empowering yourself, right? By feeling your inner power, by channeling this beautiful person that you are. And I think we've gotten to this place where we're so external. And like you said, with kind of the all the things happening in the world right now, we are kind of being called back into ourselves. We're having to isolate a little bit more. However, I mean, it's made a lot of people uncomfortable, right? And it just shows that we have been externalizing. We have been looking to other people of how to react about certain situations, or looking to other people, and even looking to spiritual teachers or gurus or coaches about how we should feel, right? And how we should go through something. And when we're in that place of inner power, we're really trusting our guidance. We're in this place where we're listening to our intuition, we're listening to our higher power, and we're feeling ourselves, right? We're giving back of coming from this place where we're creating in the internal to make our external instead of the other way around. Because we've kind of gotten to this place, I think, with society where the external is what we think creates our internal, right? We get into this place of, if I have that house, if I have that car, then I feel this way, instead of I feel this way and I'm open to receiving that house or car, these beautiful opportunities. So we have to get to that place of when we're really loving ourselves and embracing what we have to give back and realizing really how to love ourselves, we're able to create this beautiful external environment for ourselves.
I think that self-love is like it there's so many layers to it. What would you say is the biggest reason why people struggle with self-love?
I would say lack. I feel like we're constantly, like I touched on a little bit, this idea of society constantly gives us this message of lack, that we're not enough, we're not how we should be, we're not skinny enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not, muscular enough, whatever it is. It's more based on that physical appearance. And then there's also those stereotypes of kind of these stigmas that, even looking at mental health, that we should have it all together, and feeling negatively and showing that you're not okay is not appropriate. And kind of these distorted ideas of what it looks like to not really be a human, right? We're supposed to be a human. We're supposed to be imperfect. We're here on this human experience to figure out how to live and enjoy the human experience while integrating that spiritual existence, right? We know how to be spiritual beings. We're relearning that. So I think the biggest piece of why we don't feel self-love is just that idea of letting these messages from society become our internal truth instead of what we really know. And then our internal truth of what we do know about, actually, that we do love ourselves, kind of this thing has been pushed down, and we have so many subconscious beliefs or energy blocking our truth of love and abundance and beauty and presence and peace and all these amazing feelings.
Oh my goodness, so much there. Like, go back and listen to that again, M&Ms. That was so good. And I agree. I think for me, I was always too much of something. You talk too much, you're too glamorous, too glittery, too whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that has been a huge thing in my life. So it's basically society saying you have to be different than who you are to be loved, or you have to be different than who you are to be accepted. And we internalize that.
100%.
And then we think that the house or the car or the career or whatever, the business, is going to make up for that. But we really have to get to a point to where we are accepting of our good, bad, and ugly, our light and our dark. And okay, yeah, I do talk a lot, but that's why I have a podcast. So we're like really just figuring out your gifts and owning them, because a lot of times the things that we think are flaws are things that make us unique and special,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So really just getting to that place where you're like, okay, I love who I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think the problem is a lot of people are not willing to look at all the versions of themselves and really get to know themselves on a deeper, intimate level.
Right. And I love that you hit on that. We're supposed to embrace the light, the dark, the beauty and the ugly, because our job here is not to eradicate the dark. Our job is to embrace it, to bring in the light, and to figure out how to play with them and how to interact with them. It's to go through and heal and move and embody all this stuff. It's not to get rid of all the dark and the ugly. That's this idea of shaming those aspects of you. And I love that you hit on, you have to be, this to be loved. That is huge. I mean, just that message, right? And I get that being too much. I was always told that if you don't sugarcoat things, people aren't going to like you. And I don't like to sugarcoat things. I think that people they would need to hear it. It wastes my time to sugarcoat things, right? But that's okay, because then I take it into my approach. And that's how I do my coaching. And that's how I can find these outlets. Like you said, you love to talk. Having a podcast is a beautiful outlet for that. Figuring out these pieces that you were always told were not okay, figure out how to put them into a beautiful, constructive thing that feels right for you. I mean, let yourself shine. Every single person has something amazing and beautiful to share. We are all here to give back and to share. It is a disservice to everybody when people close off an aspect of themselves. We're supposed to learn from each other. We're supposed to not like some people, because that's okay. It's okay to not like people, right? Mm-hmm. We have to go in that discomfort, like I said, and be in that discomfort and be in the beauty to enjoy all of it.
Yes, I love it. Oh my goodness, I could talk to you forever. We just said I talk a lot anyway. But no, I love the vibe here. Like, we're totally on the same page. But just to kind of bring it all back full circle, what are your top 3 tips for living an abundant life?
Ooh. Okay. I would say the first one is giving yourself permission. And I know that sounds kind of basic, but if you do not give yourself permission to actually be okay with receiving, there's a lot of blocks that go into play. So, telling yourself something of, I am okay with receiving this, because, feeling that you're okay to receive that, and really focusing on those emotions. The next one is going to be giving yourself a break. We get into this, like we said, sometimes we're really in this place where we are in that rat race, or we're not in that balance of the divine feminine and masculine, and we can beat ourselves up. But taking a step back and giving yourself that break and just breathing and saying, it's okay. I'm supposed to be where I'm at right now, and I'm doing it. I'm doing great. And, moving through that. And the next one I would say is sitting in that discomfort. I know a lot of us like to do whatever we can to get out of that discomfort, because we're human and it's not fun. But when you sit in that discomfort and you move through that discomfort, you create so much beauty on the other side. You have to do the healing to move forward. We have to shift that energy that's keeping you stuck out of your body to allow space for that new energy to come in, to help you move forward in your journey and to move forward in this beautiful life and enjoy it. So I think those would be my 3 top tips to getting into that place where you can be in abundance.
Yes. I feel like I read a book recently that said you learn more about yourself in those phases of discomfort than you do when you're super happy. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
100% you do.
Yep. So where can people find you online?
So you can find me a couple places. I'm on Instagram at Caitlyn.intuitivehealingcoach. I'm on Facebook, Intuitive Healing Coach and Animal Communicator. And you can also find me on my blog on my website, and it's Caitlyn.intuitivehealingcoach.com. So you can find me any of those places. Feel free to reach out, ask me anything. I'd love to connect with all of you guys.
Awesome. So I will have all of her links in the show notes. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
I did too. It was such a blast to connect with you.
Yay. Awesome. All right, M&Ms, until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.